Aviana Haas.
And my name is Ira Haas, also known as Lava Man Ira, because I specialize in lava photography close-ups.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
You guys want to start from the beginning of your story, where you were at?
Sure. We were in Leilani Estates and just one street over on Nohea when the fissure opened. And I got a week before we were doing Bible study, and just have to say this, but a week before we got about the mountains melting down and all your pretty things being gone, and it was very interesting. And then we saw what it was that happened.
And the lava flowing into the sea. There's a specific scripture in Isaiah that actually foretold us about this.
I think it's 37, Isaiah 37. Anyway, we were in Leilani Estates. We were renting on the bottom part of a home with our own entrance for almost 2 years while we were building out, or starting to build out in Kalapana, Old Town Kalapana, where the church burned down from the old lava. And anyway, we were building, and we were told that there was a fissure opening up, so he went with our landlady to go check it out because she was a member of the Leilani watch team for the neighborhood watch. And
this was fissure number 1 on Mohala Street, so of course, me being into lava, of course I had to go towards where that was most people might go away from it, but I wanted to just check it out in a reasonable manner.
And we had felt the earthquakes the whole time before, and where it felt like once you got out of that area, it felt like you were off of a ship or something. It's like you expected to move. That was interesting.
It was as frequent as like once every 10 minutes at the
Yeah.
height of it, because our house, I calculated it later, was literally right where, and later the cracks did open up right through our property. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of magma moving under the ground, and I knew that something was going to happen. I just didn't know where it was going to come up.
Where was your house in Leilani Estates?
It was on Nohea Street. 13-3605 is now under lava completely. And so Ira came back and told me we had to start packing, and it's like, no, let's just wait and stuff. But we packed. I was like in disbelief. It's like, no.
She couldn't believe it. The birds were
It'll
singing,
stop.
and here I come home. Hey, we really need to be sensible about this and evacuate, not ourselves necessarily, because it was a mile and a half away, the first fissure, but we needed to just keep our cool and just basically start loading the vehicles and everything like that, because
Yeah.
I knew that this was the beginning of a fissure eruption, and it was likely to expand, which it certainly did.
That was like at 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And so we packed all night long until we were so tired, it's like, let's just go to sleep and get like an hour of sleep and get up in the morning and go. But the National Guards, all their sirens, and when you laid down in bed, you could see the flames shooting up, but we were so tired we didn't care. But that's denial.
What happened was that I had made a trip out to HPP where we had one of our storage containers, our 8x40s, dropped off just a week earlier or so. And so I had made a run knowing that probably civil defense and the government agencies would probably make it so we couldn't get back in. So I said, if we're going to get our stuff out, we better get as much as we possibly can out. And so we basically stayed up all night. Well, when I came back from that first trip unloading over in HPP, I got out and it was like I could hear a roar. But I didn't really realize, because I was so exhausted from working the whole day, that fissure 8, as we know it now, had opened up just one street over. So, I mean, I was kind of aware of it, but it wasn't too bad. So we just kept packing, and it was about 3 in the morning when we just finally, like my wife said, we just tried to lay down, and we said, well, we'll just get a couple hours of sleep, and then we'll go in the morning. We'll evacuate. And so we didn't really care about the volcano going off about 800 feet away. We were just more concerned, as my wife said, with the sirens and the blaring, and they kept coming around with, you have to evacuate, you have to evacuate. And finally we're like, we're never going to get any sleep here. So it was more because of civil defense that we left rather than the volcano.
And they came up the driveway right before we left, and we couldn't take our huge refrigerator that was outside, and I said, do y'all want some popsicles, because they're going to melt, but they didn't want any. I remember that. So
it was pretty funny.
We got sleep the next night. We were able to stay at a
So you left that day, Leilani, and you slept at a friend's house?
Well, we didn't sleep that night, but the next night we passed out, I think, and we stayed at a friend's that lives in Alaska, and he's here, and they rent out their house sometime, and there was openings, so we were able to just lay for like a week there.
It was through the church that we are associated with.
And then, yeah, they helped a lot with, we went down and helped at the shelter and everything, Paradise Baptist Church, and our pastor's very big of getting tents and things for people down there. And he didn't bring religion in or anything, but just helping the people. That's what we're supposed to do. So,
Not that we shouldn't. I mean, I think that even saying that there's no religion is a religion in itself. Atheism is just makes myself into a god. So
Yeah.
everything is religious
spiritual,
in some
you
way or
know,
another.
Jesus himself wasn't
Whatever.
religious, but anyway.
As long as they don't push anything on anyone else. Everybody, I believe, in the nation should have the ultimate freedom to share and benefit. You know, and if you have a story and it happens to have quote religion, fine, so be it. As long as you're not pushing it on anyone else.
But
So what were you guys able to get out of the house that was most important to you?
our Bibles, or for the one thing, our computers, our laptops, different files, paperwork,
Critical files.
different things. Our landlady was so in shock. She didn't take anything, and she even asked us, "Is it time to go now?" It's like, yes, it's time to go. And I don't think she took one piece of paperwork, and she had about 5 cats, and she said, "Should I leave the door open or closed?" I went, "Definitely open."
Open.
Because she didn't know she could take the cats to the shelter.
I tried to encourage her. She had a pickup truck. I'm like, I'll help you load anything you like. Just please, really. It's really serious, but we don't need to panic. But just seriously consider getting, because we may not be able to come back. But she just was it was too upsetting of an event.
But so those things. And then later on, we rented a home from this lady that couldn't breathe anymore, and her dog had to go to California for about 6 weeks. And then
Because of the
through
dog.
the meetings we went to every week at the high school, right?
The Pahoa Community Center, yeah.
Yeah, we found out from Joyce and Buenaventura about some apartments out in Pepacao. I know I'm not saying that right, I'm butchering it, but
Pepe Ikeo.
we're very thankful to be there now.
And so it was low-income housing, so it was nice that she had made that available, that information available for people who want to take advantage of it, because there were so many people. We looked on Craigslist, and you call, you know, we're trying to find a place, scams, and they say,
They
oh,
raise the rent like 3 times as much as it should be.
totally taking advantage of people in this situation instead of making it easier. It's just like, forget that, you know, you said this amount, now it's this much.
So from what I'm hearing, it sounded like you guys had to bounce around from place to
Oh, yeah.
place. And
Yeah.
now that you guys
Very
found
hard.
a permanent home, how do you feel being in that place? I know
Well,
it's not Leilani, but
It's temporary because we
Uh-huh.
still want to build, and the place in Kalapana that we wanted to build, we're not certain about it because we don't think the volcano's done yet, so we bought property in Fern Forest.
okay.
And we're going to try to build there, and we've been working with the different agencies that have been wonderful, FEMA and Red Cross and Hope Services and Catholic Charities and
But most
the
importantly,
Hub.
yeah,
You know,
Kaiko
that was
Marzo is,
awesome to go down there and just connect with people that went through the same thing.
he's been the best, Kaiko,
Just,
really.
you know, and just close. And so living there, it's been quite different. It's low income housing. It's a lot of drama and it's supposed to be drug free, but there are drugs and drama and abuse that you can hear that's very hard for us. And so we're trying to get out. We're on a list with Habitat for hopefully, and looking for grants because we have the kit to build the home. We just don't have the labor and we don't know how to do it. So it's been very challenging up and down, you know, with the housing, of course.
There's
That we're blessed too.
we're very thankful, you know, to be alive, and we're very thankful for for different people who have helped and really been genuine and everything. But I've identified, and I've actually spoken directly with Russell Rudiman after one of those Pahoa community meetings, you know, the lava meetings, about solutions that go for affordable housing that go beyond the scope of the lava event. And there are ways that this can be achieved. And I knew, knowing, you know, having studied government and having studied the way that society works and the way it's structured and put together, you know, and I'm a very analytical person, that if you simply, and a lot of people won't like to hear this, but if you simply get rid of zoning, get rid of planning, bring back freedom to the nation that made the nation great, the greatest nation on earth, now we're coming into a totalitarian control where it's more and more and more government, bigger and bigger government. And as that happens, your freedoms get smaller and smaller and smaller and more impacted and diminished on average. I'm not saying that everything's bad and everybody's bad, but I just feel that if you just did things like undid the zoning, allow people to build and be creative, and if the thing falls in on them, that's their own problem because that's their own property. You know, allow people to be creative and free. That's what America was founded on, and unfortunately to me, I see that it's almost like we've forgotten what freedom is as a whole. Maybe not everybody, but a lot of people, I think, they don't really know what it's really like to be free. That's kind of a scary thing in a world that's going towards a one world government and a new world order, and we're seeing this. They tell us it's going to be a utopia, but I see the exact opposite happening over time. You know, at the local levels, whether it's the island or whether it's back in the in the States or whatever. I don't like the trend that I see the world going in, and I'm not afraid to talk about it either.
Which is good, you know. Sometimes you got to be the one to voice your opinion. Do you have any other advice for any other agencies out there who are looking to help?
Yes, please. If you get grants, don't pass it on as loans to other people. Show us where the grants are and help us, you know. We can do a lot of things, but we need some help because things are gone, and things are just gone. And to remember with the people just to care for each other. You know, the slightest thing can make you cry, and be close to people. And we still have the spirit of aloha here. Very many people, and some people don't. They turned and went the other way, and they're off. And just to remember that we're on the island, and it's definitely island time, that things move very slow here.
Yes.
And I thank y'all for doing this. It's wonderful to just sit down. You know, it's been time as going by, and I hope this gets to a lot of people to know we
We're
know we
hoping
live.
It does too. That's the point of the video, is to try and get
Yeah.
your voices heard,
Yeah.
your suggestions, so they can see what you guys went through, what you guys need, what changes can be made.
For the people to listen, because it was so hard at those meetings. They wouldn't let the people talk. It was all these things that they were talking, and there were so many people frustrated and crying.
It was a
just
pre-planned
hard
agenda.
For me.
And it always seemed...
Listen to the people, please. Listen to the people.
It seemed to be steered in a way that was already chosen. It's like they created these meetings to make it feel like you had a choice, but ultimately, when you really analyzed it, when you really got down to it in the end, it was really all already pre-planned to go in this one direction.
We feel like we're in an experiment. Like, are we part of an experiment?
Like a big social
and maybe
experiment.
we are. You know, maybe
You
we are.
never know.
We do not know, but it sure does feel like that.
In summary, just to simplify government, because the more you make things complicated, the less freedom you have. And there's no avoiding that. You know, back 100 years ago, there was no planning and zoning. There was no land use laws. There was no things that are coming down from Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 from the world government level. Those things didn't exist. Or, you know, if they were starting to be formed, they didn't have any impact on local societies. Now we're in a world where we just keep getting this encroachment. You know, I'll call it socialism. You can label it a lot of different things, but it's a merger between big multinational corporations and government, which is fascism. Aaron Russo's Freedom to Fascism video very, very well documents how the whole nation is losing in the area of freedom because of this factor that I'm sharing about. But the reason why I bring it up is because we could have dealt with this as a community so much better if we didn't have to be concerned about permits and zoning and can you do this or can't you do that, and the whole speed of which we could have created affordable housing. It would be so much more efficient, so much better. There's so many people like myself who can paint or help people, or there's so many people who want to get out there, but they're stifled by, well, what's the county going to say about that, or that's not technically legal because the county says it's not. And even Ruderman himself said, well, you know, I agree with you that if we didn't have these kind of things, it would be a lot better, but it'll never happen because of, you know, the plumbers union, he said, and different examples, and that's a shame. It's a shame that big companies and special interests should interfere with our freedoms and rule our lives to that degree. I'd like to see that go in the other direction. You know? And I respect other people who disagree with me, but that's what I would like to see, because I love freedom.
Thank you guys for sharing your story. Appreciate hearing about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.